Gamers, gals, non-binary pals. YCS Niagara was a couple weeks ago, wrapped up pretty nicely, and a lot of people are pretty optimistic regarding the format. I'm personally not crazy optimistic regarding the format. I have my personal gripes with what the format looks like. But MBT, I was watching his remote regional deck profile. By the way, congratulations on getting second place. Big achievement. Only literally losing to Shunping Shu. But in his deck profile, he made a very interesting point that I do want to talk about.
This is some fucking pushback that I've gotten a little bit recently that I just want to address the haters and the losers. I really like this format. The reason that I played this regional wasn't that I hate Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, I think people frequently demand consistency from me. They want me to always be saying Yu-Gi-Oh! Is bad or always be saying Yu-Gi-Oh! Is good. And the truth of the matter is that formats come and formats go, and some are good and some are bad. And I am being honest when I say the format we are currently in feels better than probably the last 6 months of formats at minimum.
I agree. This is a very safe take to have. I don't think that you can look at a top cut graph like YCS Niagara and you see like, okay, sure, maybe some Snake Eyes Fire Azamina pile is in 50% of the decks. But you're still able to play like Tenpai, you're still able to play like Yubel, so you play stuff like Striker, Labyrinth, Centurion, Exodia, a lot of really silly stuff compared to YCS Cancun, where you look at like last formats, YCS Cancun, and like Yubel is everywhere, or you go back one more YCS, and the top of the graph is like nothing but Snake Eye. Oh my god, look at this shit. Disgusting. So much fucking Snake Eye everywhere, dude. This shit was disgusting. I don't think it takes a genius to say that this format is definitely healthier and a little bit better compared to the last format. But I still wouldn't say it's a good format. I wouldn't say that it's a format that I enjoy. I wouldn't say that it's a format that I personally like. It's definitely better, but you know, if you make $2 a day, going up from $2 to $2.50, you know, it's not really, you know, it's technically better. It's not that good. Our bar for healthy is so low that it doesn't matter. Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players are actually the definition of being in an abusive relationship where Konami beats us for talking to another guy, and the other guy is called Cardfight Vanguard or One Piece. Then we realize that Black Yellow is absolutely cancer, really expensive as well, and we come back to Konami even after all the abuse, and Konami says,
"Don't worry, baby, I'll change."
And they limit Poplar and Ash, and then they start beating us again with $140 Fuolos and $50 Deceptions. I would not take current format out on a date or hold their hand. I might lend them a pencil if they asked, but I'm gonna go to their desk later and ask for it back. I'm not giving them shit for free.
I enjoy it a lot. When I say this, a lot of people come back with the same thing, which is the obvious answer, which is I understand this format is good. I personally cannot play it because I can't afford FUA losses. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. With respects to paper play, you are 100% in the right. Like, that sucks. And you will lose games you should have won for not having FUA loss. But I really would encourage you to try any of the free simulators that exist. There is a robust tournament scene on Omega. There is a robust dueling book tournament scene.
Okay, first of all, Omega is still really funny to talk about in the sense where everyone kind of just collectively agreed to forget that Omega had their little racism free speech 1984 moment. Like, are we just gonna forget that people were just putting the N-word in duel rooms to like stream snipe MBT? Like, that was a thing. But let's not pretend that Dueling Book and Omega are good testing grounds, because unless you get into like extremely high rating indies, you are not going to be able to have quote unquote consistent high level testing. You're not always going to be able to compete with players that operate on a high bar or a high axis. You're not always going to be able to compete with, you know, pros. You're not always going to be able to fucking queue into like Yushi Hongroy or like Christian Urena or whatever and be able to get those reps in. Like, most of the time, you're going to go against like
Plant Fucker 29 who's playing like 60 card Drytron.
And you're like, I don't think this is representative of the format. Like, Dueling Book and Omega do have a purpose in regards to being platforms where you are able to play Yu-Gi-Oh for free. I would never say that they're able to be replicants of the actual TCG scene or what a format one-to-one looks like. And just because you're in high rating doesn't automatically mean that you are going to be able to, again, also play against decks or players who are 100%, playing real-ass decks, you know what I mean? This is an older screenshot when I was playing Lab, but I'm just going to use this as like a placeholder image. But I remember during like Adamancipator format and like Eldritch format, I was playing Wind Witch Burn. Like, I was playing Wind Witch cards, I was playing like Secret Barrels and Ring of Destruction, like Mahata and Lava Gold, all that sort of fucking random garbage. And I literally managed to make like top 200 on Dueling Book. Like, I realized that like high elo Dueling Book at like 1,000+ rating was like Burning Abyss, some branded players, and like, 30% Sword Soul, 30% Eldritch, like 10% maybe like Virtual World Copers. I'm 900 rating and I face complete poo-poo heads? Yeah. But when you get to late night rating and there aren't enough people online Dueling Book in order for the algorithm to match you against people of your skill level, sometimes fucking Plantfucker 29 with 98 rating is gonna go against like fucking Nightfall with his like fucking 1,500 rating. What's your Dueling Book username? I'm not allowed to play Dueling Book until the 18th of November. We're working out a work release program to get me out of Dueling Book jail. How have Branded and BA been around for so long? BA are pretty good effects for the time, and Branded is a lore archetype that also summons Gimmick Puppet.
The ladder system there. Try the format. See if you like it. You can find ways to play events from your computer using free software and not spending a dime. And then when you play a paper tournament at your local, just bring Drytron. That's what I was gonna do before I got the Fua losses.
I don't want to sound like kind of asshole-y or shitty, but people don't want to go to locals, or at least most people don't want to go to locals just to scrub out. You know what I mean? It's very easy to say, yeah, I just go to locals and play a fun deck or like a rogue deck, and don't really care. But some people have locals as their primary way of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! My primary way of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I'm fucking still banned, Konami, please unban me, and I get to my ban appeal, Konami, it's been like a month. My way of playing is at non-OTS locals, and that is the very limited, quote-unquote, competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Time where I am able to have, and I don't want to just fucking take Drytron or like Mimighoul or like Madolche to locals and go fucking 1-3. I want to be able to, sort of still prove to myself or have some sort of fun competitive experience where I am able to win while playing something competent that isn't just...
Yes, today I will make glass souffle pass.
Now say something racist. I think that people in my league games should be put down like dogs. If you lock in Janna mid, buy a Dark Seal, and run it down, you should be put down like a fucking dog in the street. But anyways, like at the end of the day, it's very discouraging to be like, oh, you can't play in paper? Here's a deck that will either feel extremely frustrating to play because it's either missing optimal side and main deck cards in Fualos and Perulia and Deception or whatever, and you're just going to be playing an objectively worse deck and you're going to lose way more games than you are going to win playing this quote-unquote budget version, or you're going to give someone a deck that's like, oh, you don't need Perulia or you don't need XYZ card, something like White Forest Toy Box with no Azamita cards, and you're just going to get fucking eaten alive. It's just going to be like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this now, The insta-lock Yones just because it's a meta pick in Worlds. Shoutouts to the fucking Yone mid, Yasuo bot lane, double grasp, just farm until late game. Actual evil fucking individuals, bro. Dog, where I live, unless you want to go to a YCS or something, you shouldn't buy Fualos because nobody has Fualos. I'm not even joking. There was a non-OTS tournament where Rage of the Abyss was legal, and I attended it, and I had Fualoses, and even though I was on fucking Drytron, I went like 4-0 because I just Fualosed people, and nobody could Fualos me because nobody owned Fualos. It is actually like an evil superpower. Literally the only person in my country who owns them went to Worlds last year. It's time to start farming. I don't know what fucking country you're in. Are you in like Belgium? Let me get some waffles. Let me get some waffles as tokens. That's your racist comment of the day, La Prince. Ava Lise. I was scrolling Twitter the other day and I saw Ava's little Twitter thread where Ava is like, yeah, I'm really like testing Memento. It's like my favorite deck. But even though this deck is like relatively cheap, because like the only expensive card in here is like Bone Party, and you're able to just play this like kind of like Monster Mash pile, play a bunch of hand traps. It's just a rogue deck that suffers to overpushed card design in Dominus Impulse and needing to play just naturally very expensive cards in Perulia and Fualos, as well as the fact that Dominus Impulse is an expensive card that, is not really fun to play against, but that's, sort of beside the point. Like Ava is a woman who lives in America, a country with a very high GDP, and if she, with a very stable career in teaching, is unable to pull the financial trigger in being able to afford Fualoses, like a random $400 to $500 splurge on herself is not even possible because fucking America pays their teachers like shit and a lot of other professions like shit because, gotta get that tech job that's gonna be invalidated in like 6 months because of AI. It's a very frustrating position to be in, both as a player and a competitor and enjoyer of the game. And it's like Ava and like lots and lots and lots of other players are just completely fucking forced out of the format. Like, you could just replace, like, Memento with Drytron, or you could replace Drytron with Mimighoul, or you could replace Mimighoul with, like, Labyrinth. And you're either forced to shell out for massive amounts of expensive cards, or you're forced to just play a shit version of, like, an already shit deck. You know what I mean? My country's at fucking war. I prefer to saving my money for an emergency than overspend on some random stupid Max Seabirds. Yeah, definitely Konami making this pricing structure while there's like multiple wars going on is not pog. Dominus Impulse was £25. If you didn't buy it at that, it's your fault. I sold my playset of Impulse and had to rebuy it. Whoops. Top the case tournament though. By the way, chat. Oof. Look at that. QCR Fualos. Let me put that shit back. Hey, I pulled that during Sneak. Congratulations. You are now a billionaire. Have fun on your fucking Giga Yacht, Bruce Wayne. Please do me you do the bend flex whenever you activate it. Oh god, yes. Whenever I riffle shuffle my deck, my opponent's fucking oof. Greatest feeling on planet Earth. But yeah, those are just like my quick little thoughts on the format, on like why pricing is just like a massive fucking headache, and why, now casual players are basically unable to play the format. Like, casual competitive players no longer have a home and are, again, forced into the shitty 50-50 where you're either going to shell out hundreds of dollars in order to play a fucking card game, or you're going to lose. You will just lose. There's no such thing right now, unfortunately, as a rogue deck right now that is cheap or affordable or something like that. Tenpai used to be like that, and then when you look at Tenpai lists, you'll see that the fucking price is like $750, and it's like, oh, triple Fualos, triple Dominus Impulse, fucking SP Little Knight still $45. It's like, come on, why are we still doing this? You know what I mean? They all play Mulch Armies. Yeah, it's the best engine in the game. There's no reason not to. It's the best going second engine in the game. That is something I don't understand. If you're a casual player, you don't care about winning all the time. So why should you care about having the most optimized deck? Nobody, like, if you are a player who, like, plays locals casually, or you just play locals for, like, the fun of the game, I would not say that going to locals just to show up with like a sub-optimized deck just to go like 1/3 drop is a fun experience. There isn't fun in losing, as harsh as that is to say. There is no fun in losing. There's no fun in playing a bad deck. There is fun in playing like, a sort of cheesy deck, some shit like Hero or Mimighoul or whatever. There is a degree of fun to that, but nobody wants to be on like the receiving end of just getting fucking beat down by Dia Bellstar and Snake Eye and Deception and Tenpai and like 500 other things, Like, losing locals after locals after locals after locals after locals is just a very unfun overall experience. So even if you do want to play a bad deck, like Drytron or Badolce or Mimighoul or whatever, you still, ideally want to give yourself the best chance at winning, you know what I mean? The only positive in my locals is that we play Heart of the Underdog once a week with ban list that doesn't let you play meta decks and tier 2 or rogue decks. Well, see, now you kind of pass into this issue of kind of dividing your locals. It is very frustrating to, like, for most working adults to be only able to play locals maybe like once a week, and like, you save up your paychecks, you build Fualos or whatever, and maybe you can go to like a regional once every other month. You can maybe go to a YSS once a year, but locals is your main way of playing the game. But just like randomly once a week, that day of being able to play Yu-Gi-Oh is taken away from you because you don't want to have to build a separate deck to play it in a format that's not advanced. Because let's not lie to ourselves, the vast majority of Yu-Gi-Oh players like 90% of them play exclusively advanced. There are people that are overlapped and able to play multiple formats, but the vast majority of Yu-Gi-Oh players are only interested in playing advanced. And when you start sort of policing this quote-unquote like fake format and what's a real format and what isn't a real format at the local level, you're going to end up with a lot of players who feel frustrated that their quote-unquote Yu-Gi-Oh time is being taken away by a format that they just are not interested in not playing. But also, even if these tournaments are able to be run at the same time, like let's say that Advanced starts at 4 p.m. and Edison starts at 9 p.m., like no one wants to spend like fucking 8 to 12 hours at the fucking local card shop, you know what I mean? And if these events run simultaneously, people who play both formats are now in this shitty coin flip of, well, do I want to play Advanced and get real testing, or do I want to play Edison event and have quote-unquote fun but not really accomplish anything in terms of like competitive testing type deal? But yeah, that's just my opinions regarding the format. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.